Hey, I'm JD, and welcome to another episode of Seen and Heard. We have some cool guests with us today, and yes, that's plural, guests. So I'd like to introduce them to you right away.
Thank you for having us. My name is Julie DiMatteo Lane, and this is my collaborating business partner.
I don't get to introduce myself?
Introduce yourself.
All right.
Talk it over to you. Go ahead.
Brad McKenna.
Nice to meet the two of you.
Thank you.
So where are the two of you from, just for the audience?
Originally, I grew up in Lexington, Massachusetts, and now I reside in Stoneham, and Boston girl my whole life.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
What about you, man?
Woburn. So I was born in Woburn. I moved out for a little bit. Now I'm back in Woburn.
Do you guys ever live outside of the state?
No, just I summer in Maine, but
Massachusetts.
I went to college here and everything. Yeah.
Nice. So what do you guys do for work?
I'm a special education teacher. My whole career has been with elementary students. And the last couple of years, I'm specializing in intensive phonics service for remediating our youngest and most complicated profile readers, primarily grades 3rd, 4th, and 5th.
What, you want to just kind of break that down a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely, for the audience. I always
Yeah.
looked at the teacher jargon there for a second. So
That's all right.
my job is very much focused on students that have very significant dyslexic profiles and working with them on breaking that reading code, breaking down the science of reading, understanding letters and sounds, and really getting them up to grade level with their reading skills. So these are kids that historically have just been frustrated with the way they're taught, are low on motivation, frustrated, and it's been really rewarding to kind of get that key that unlocks
Oh, I'm
what
sure.
they need for phonics, for reading and spelling.
Is it kind of, I assume it's probably pretty case by case, or do you have like
Very much so.
do you have sort of a go-to kind of checklist that you kind of try first?
Yeah, I
like a
have some
framework?
assessments that I do first to kind of gauge where kids are. By the time they come to me, that they've been through several teachers at this point at different levels of instruction, and very much their individual. It's very individualized, the instruction that I do with them. It's really rewarding work.
I can
For
imagine.
sure.
And what do you do?
So I'm a technology librarian. So that means I'm in charge of everything with a plug, I like to say. So I'm in charge of the hardware, the software, the website, all that stuff. I also do tech help sessions. Patrons can book an hour of my time, and I can help them with their phone or their iPad or just whatever they need. And it's been very fulfilling because it's that one place that people can turn to be able to learn about technology and not have to pay through the nose. So
Oh,
yeah,
absolutely.
it's great. It's very fulfilling.
Does assistive technology come up a lot, or is it more
Not
just
as much. So like it has now. So like I wasn't very open about my hearing loss for a number of years, but since I've been open about it, I get a lot more questions about like hearing aids or text-to-speech apps or caption apps in the phone, stuff like that. So it's been coming up more because I've been open about it. Imagine that.
I know, right? It kind of comes like that. It's the whole seen and heard thing.
Exactly.
You know, once they know, they're kind of want to educate themselves. People are, inherently very curious.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. For sure.
So kind of piggybacking on that, do you guys kind of mind talking about your disability a little bit?
Not at all. I'll start.
Sure.
So I was born, as far as my parents are aware, with typical hearing. And when I was about 3, I went from being a very gregarious, outgoing kid to shy, easily startled, not responding when my name was called. And that was kind of the clue that something was up. I didn't have any infections or fevers. There's no family history. They don't know where my hearing loss came from. It was literally overnight.
That's wild.
It was wild. And so it's been a degenerative sensory neural loss over the past 40 some odd years. And I'm very fortunate that hearing aids still give me enough of a benefit. And I'm also very lucky that my speech was very well developed prior to the hearing starting to go, which was the benefit for me as well. And again, speech therapies and everything over the years have helped also. But it was very, very sudden. And there's no other family member with hearing loss, including subsequent generations of cousins and my nieces and nephews and things like that. I have no idea.
So that's wild. That's
Yeah,
a
pretty
really
crazy.
wild mystery.
Yep.
I mean, as far as just kind of growing up with that,
Mm-hmm.
how quickly did it start kind of regressing at all when you were
So it's an unpredictable rate of loss, which has been kind of hovering like a gray cloud over my head my whole life. Sometimes I'll go several years with no dip in loss, and sometimes I'll notice almost overnight again, like, ooh, I'm not hearing ambient sounds like I used to, something's up. So from the age of about 3.5 to 6, it was pretty rapid. Left ear first, and then the right ear started probably around 4.5. So it was about a year in between getting those first hearing aids and then getting the second. And it was really I didn't notice it because I don't remember that time, but I know for my family it was very stressful because they just never knew minute to minute what was going to happen. And at that time, the recommendation was that they stop promoting my speech and instead shift to ASL and shift to complete deaf education. And my family felt very strongly that they wanted me to have the opportunity to continue as long as I could developing spoken language, being educated in a mainstream setting if possible for as long as we could go. So I was very lucky to have that advocacy.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
So as far as how you understand me speaking to you, is it, how much of it is lip reading? How much of it is hearing?
That is such a great question. I have no idea.
Yeah.
Because I've never heard any other way. You know, so
Right.
I know that I'm always focused on facial cues, lip reading, body language. And I know that I'm hearing your voice, but I'm not confident how clear your voice really is because I've never heard any other way.
Right.
And people will say to us often, oh, but you hear everything I say. I'm like, I don't know what I'm missing, you know? So I think it's a combination of all of those skills plus the assistive technology. But I would love to know the answer to that.
Yeah.
Like how much of it is a genuine, authentic sound and how much of it is context clues
Yeah.
plus everything else, you know? Great question.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, you know, we all use kind of like a concert of just modalities and assistive technology to kind of like do what we need to do.
Absolutely.
Like, for example, you know, I have no movement below the shoulders. So when I'm using a computer, for example, like I've got a head mouse where I'm looking around, that's moving a mouse, I'm biting a thing to produce a left click. But then I also have voice commands and an on-screen keyboard. So those three things combined kind of get me to close to where I was prior to my spinal cord injury. And it's stuff like that that I feel like people don't realize. Like,
Sure.
they don't realize that it takes multiple assistive technology. Hearing loss isn't just something that happens to both ears at the exact same time, the same rate. You know, that disparation between the two. I mean, does that affect, like, do you ever feel like it affects your balance in any way, having different, you know, hearing? I know that's really hard to answer because it's so intense.
But absolutely, truthfully, we laugh all the time because we are not capable of walking in a straight line. If you watch us for any period of time on a sidewalk, one of us is going to crash into the other one. It's the funniest thing. It's like we just can't do it.
Bounce off each other.
Skating, bicycles, the ice in the winter, forget it. My vestibular system is a catastrophe.
We'll get
We're
some
going
B-roll.
down.
We'll have to get some B-roll of that for you.
Absolutely.
Just kidding. Just... All right. Do you want to kind of fill us in on sort of your experience?
Yeah, so it's very different than Julie's.
Yeah.
So like my loss comes from my father. So my entire father's side has a congenital hearing loss. And so I failed my first hearing test at 5. And I didn't get my first set of hearing aids until I was 23. So Julie got hers right away. And the issue is it's almost reverse what Julie has. Like, everybody was talking about it in her family because she was the only one. My entire father's side, most of them, not everybody, but most people have hearing loss. If not, I don't remember my father without hearing aids,
Right.
but we didn't talk about it. We just did not talk about it growing up. And so my mom would always talk to my teachers before school and let them know that I might be missing things. And of course I did. And of course the teachers forgot. And so I just got really good at critically reading to make up for what I lost. I would be able to take keyword notes in school. So like a specific word, I would be able to go back to the index of the textbook and figure out what I missed. So yeah, I didn't get my first set of hearing aids until I was 23. When I moved to a quieter work environment, I couldn't hear my coworkers. And so, because I worked in a cube farm, so pretty lowly, right?
Yeah.
So I couldn't hear anybody. And they thought it was hilarious that they couldn't hear me, but that's a different topic. And so I got my hearing aids, and they've been godsend. They've really helped. I wouldn't be able to be a librarian if I didn't have my hearing aids. And as it is, I still need people to speak up. I need people to face me. I need people to enunciate. So there's still a whole host of challenges. We like to say that hearing aids are not like glasses. They don't correct the problem. They just aid it. And so I bluffed my way as well as I could until the pandemic. And then the library was shut down for like 6 months, and then we opened up to like curbside delivery. And so that was all phone work, and I had really hard time on the phone. And when people started coming in, they had the masks, and that is very challenging. So if I wanted to continue to be a librarian, I needed to speak up for my needs. And I was 41 years old at the time when I started. I had the hearing aids for almost 20 years before I started acknowledging them. And so it's just fascinating that like the different paths that we took. There's no one way to be deaf, right?
No, not
So it's just great. It's great to be able to help other people avoid that stigma. Like I was saying earlier, I help patrons with their assistive technology for their phones and try to demystify the audiogram where it maps your hearing loss and try to explain how over-the-counter hearing aids may not help them because they're not powerful enough, and there's a whole host of issues. So I couldn't do that. I couldn't help others until I helped myself, right? But it's been a while because the stigma is strong.
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
It's very strong.
But, I mean, I'm sure there's some silver lining in just the skills you've picked up in kind of compensating for some of that over the years. Maybe it's not even known to you, it's something that'll come out of the woodwork when you need it.
Right, yeah. So like context clues, like Julie was saying, is we don't know how much we miss, but like I can read people's like facial expressions and moods very well because I'm very attuned to like the slightest change in like posture or facial expression because I needed that to survive. And so I'm very good at that now.
So maybe you're like a hyper empath that's really good at reading body language now.
Yeah.
Could be.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, I feel like you're in a good spot for that. I mean, like there's a lot of people that probably come through and you have some interesting conversations with.
Oh yeah. So like they're always one thing I hear from a lot of the like elderly patrons is like, oh, I know I should, but like I feel bad and like I've waited this long. Like there's still a reticence to even do anything about it, even though like they know it will help them. But like repeated conversations I think are going to help a lot of people because that's why we do like the show, right? Is we want to talk about it, we want to get that conversation going.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if you don't talk about it, it stays silent and nobody ever learns about it.
Exactly.
As far as your hearing loss, is it progressive? Is it something that's kind of been stable to some degree? Is that even a thing? Is there such thing as stable hearing loss?
Yeah, so it's stable. So like when I got the hearing aids, I had just stopped working in a data center with like thousands of servers and really loud printers.
Yeah, that's really
And I'm
loud.
sure that it dropped my
I
hearing.
hadn't thought about that.
Yeah, it did drop my hearing. So I needed it. And the last audiogram I got, I noticed that my high tones, so I have what they call reverse slope. And so usually as you age, you lose the high pitches first, but I've lost my mid tone and my low pitches. And so if you really want my attention, you just whistle at me and I'll hear you. But I'm starting to lose the high tones too. So, but everybody loses some hearing as they age because we live in such a loud world. And so now it's been steady since I've gotten the hearing aids because I haven't had to turn things up as loud because that's turning it up for me. So it's been steady, but just as I age, I'm going to lose some. Luckily, I don't have the gray cloud hanging over my head like Julie does, but doesn't mean my hearing is going to stay. So it's stay where it is.
Yeah, I mean, hearing, like any ability, is really just temporary, right?
Yeah,
I mean, we only have it for so long. I just wanted to talk about kind of the difference between the technology you each use for your assistive hearing as well as kind of what tones you have strengths in and what those specifically would be. Because you say high frequency, mid frequency, low frequency. I kind of have an understanding of that from doing audio engineering, but I feel like the large audience really isn't going to know what qualifies as a high, mid, or low tone. So do you want to talk about the tech of the hearing aids first, or you want to talk about...
Start with the tech question.
So the high tones are like birdsong, like high pitches, like high voices, stuff like that. That's high frequency. Mid-tone is conversational. So right now we're speaking in a mid-tone. And then like a low frequency, low tone is like basses, bass drum, or like rumbling, thunder, stuff like that. And so what the technology does, so we have different manufacturers, but we still have the same hearing technology because there's the hearing aids and the cochlear implants. So what that does is you have to get an audiogram done. So they play a bunch of tones and you have to raise your hand. And based on how many decibels they have to turn up that, they'll know where your hearing starts, your hearing threshold starts. So we get that done and we map our hearing loss. I'm doing this because that's basically what my hearing audiogram looks like. And what the hearing aids do is they boost at that level. So I don't need much boosting at the high levels because I still have that hearing. But mid-tone and low tones, I need them to boost more. And so what the audiologist does is it programs it where it boosts at certain points on the graph. So you have the frequency low to high and then decibel low to high. And it boosts it at along certain points on the graph. So it's only boosting where I need it. And that's where the over-the-counter can be problematic, is it's just boosting across the board.
Right.
And so someone with over-the-counter could end up losing hearing because it's being boosted where it doesn't need to be boosted. And so that's basically it. It's an amplifier. It's a personal amplifier along the frequency that I need. So Julie's audiogram looks different, so she's going to be boosted differently than I am.
Mine goes off a cliff.
Yeah.
It looks like this. Mine just goes crash. So I have limited to no high frequency left. So birds I can't hear, whistles. If someone says something like shh, I don't know that sound.
Yeah.
Mid-tone is pretty good conversationally, but
yeah.
again, I'm not sure if I'm really hearing it as well, or if I'm just compensating with everything else. My low tones are definitely stronger, but with my hearing aids out, and that's with hearing aids in. If my hearing aids out, it's completely silent.
Oh, it is. Okay.
It's lovely. You know how nice that is to have that option?
How frequently do you utilize that in a day? You think?
Very frequently. Never had a bad night's sleep.
Really?
Thunderstorms don't bother me. Can't hear them.
Okay.
It's great. So that's the other point to make too with the hearing aids, getting back to being a little more serious about technology, is that hearing aids amplify what we are able to already hear, right? They don't correct our hearing.
Right.
And I think that's a big misconception when people compare glasses to hearing aids. They're not bringing back anything. They're just amplifying and boosting what's there. So.
Plus, I learned a little bit. I was doing some research for my mother for her getting her some hearing aids because she's definitely of that generation where she don't want to correct it, but you need to. You know, she's getting so frustrated with asking people to repeat stuff to the point where she just gives up and like feeling isolated by it. And I'm sure you've experienced that yourself. So kind of when I was learning about it, we went this route with this product called Jabra Enhance. I don't know if you have any opinions on that. I'd love to hear it if you do.
Whatever works.
Yeah.
Right? It's like it doesn't matter what you use. If it helps you, great.
Yeah, and this one, it was, you know, we had an online appointment with someone and we got them for her. But I think what I learned in that, as well as this movie, I don't know if you've seen the movie The Sound of Metal.
Yes.
He has,
Is like the idea that it's not, the sound that comes from them is not what you expect.
No, it's so tinny.
Very tinny.
Yeah.
different.
So it's funny about that is, so Julie has Phonak, I have Oticon as a manufacturers, and the way it processes sounds means that sound is proprietary. So I hear the world literally differently than Julie, because the algorithm that's running the amplification in our hearing aids are owned by different companies.
Why?
So like the Jabra would be the same thing, right? It would be that company owns it. So the world literally sounds different, not just artificial, because the first time I got them, I was old enough to remember everything sounded very mechanical and tinny because it was. But I didn't realize until much later that it can actually be more than that. It literally changes the way we hear the world based on the way the manufacturer works their technology. It's fascinating.
That is crazy. I mean, so like for example, when I was in the hospital and they're giving me my first chair, they make me try out a bunch of different manufacturers. Like this is a Permobile. First I was a Quantum, and like they have their own proprietary technologies.
Yeah.
Like I love the Quantum because it's sturdy. It's like a tank. It's mid-wheel drive. I can turn on a dime. And then this chair is a Permobile. It's super janky, wiggly, but it stands. I can stand up, which is incredible for me. It's great for my blood circulation, pressure relief, stuff like that. So, you know, it's kind of, they all have their pluses and minuses. Plus I had to determine how I wanted to drive my chair. So I had to choose between driving with a head array. This is a head array. So I press against the back to drive forward, tap it to switch to reverse, and press, or this to turn left, and this to turn right. And I can hit them both at the same time. So I can be driving forward and tap this and kind of turn right and left while I'm driving forward. And the other options were like, this is just a water straw, but it looks like a sip and puff device, which you would use to drive your chair. So like you know, create pressure into the tube, and then the chair would drive forward on a latch for say 15 seconds or 30 seconds.
Huh.
And so that's great for rough terrain, for example.
Sure.
So like, you puff into it, the chair goes over the rough terrain, no problem. This chair, since I'm holding my head against it,
Yeah.
I start going over rough terrain, bounces my head off,
Yeah.
the chair's constantly stopping.
Right.
So like if I'm trying to ride on a trail, it's like stopping every like 2-3 seconds.
Oh, jeez.
And so there's that, and then there's also a chin drive. We're using a joystick with your chin to kind of push the chair around. So I'm kind of curious, like, I know it's not like mine was pretty intensive because it's like an inpatient situation where, you're relearning your body. They're like making you try out all this stuff before they let you back out into the world. I know it wasn't a situation like that for you guys, but was there a situation where they have you try different kind of manufacturers? Is that more of a newer thing with the proprietary sounds and stuff like that?
So I tried out a Phoniac when I got this set. So I got this set. We have to replace our hearing aids between every 5 and 7 years. You have to get a new
Same
set.
with the chairs.
Yeah, there you go.
There you
That's
go.
funny.
I bet it's an insurance thing.
So I tried out a Phoniac and in the audiologist's office, and it was so weird. The world sounded different. And I didn't like it, so I went back to the Oticon. That's the only really thing you can try. You can try different hearing aids. Why don't you talk about the analog to digital thing?
That's exactly what I was going to
do
say.
that.
Oh, okay.
So I have had hearing aids for so long that I've experienced the shift from analog technology to digital technology, which was wild. I got my digital aids probably when I was about 30. It's probably about 20 years ago, maybe even a little bit older than that. And I just remember my youngest brother went with me to pick them up because the audiologist said, don't do this by yourself because the world is going to sound very, very different. And we got out of the car, and it was raining that day, and I put my hood up. I'd never heard raindrops before.
Oh, wow.
I thought someone was coming after me. I screamed, and Joe was like, it's the rain. I'm like, oh, boy. And then we went in the house, and for the first time, I heard water coming out of a faucet. I heard the light switch clicking. I was scared to death for probably a good week. And that was just eye-opening. So for me, you never had that experience. That shift was huge, going from analog, which pretty much amplified everything with no depth of sound, to the digital. And now seeing the digital evolution over time has been amazing. It much more mirrors the way that the natural ear processes sound now. So I think I'm getting as close to an authentic experience as I can. But for me, in terms of brands, I've always kind of been driven by what my loss is looking like at the moment and what brand can offer me the most power to help keep me connected. And I have Phonak now, and I probably think the last 2 or 3 pairs have been Phonak, just because it really works well for me. I did try Oticon, and I didn't like
Did you? Yeah.
Yeah, years ago, and I wasn't
Yeah.
crazy about it. So it all kind of goes back to what's the best match for me right now. I need the power aids. I need the best available to stay connected.
How much of it do you think is like preference versus like it just happens to fit you? I know that's a weird question, but like I'm kind of curious, like, you said you tried out the new ones and then you switched back. Do you think it was just because you were used to the old ones? Do you think that was part of it?
I think that's part of it. I don't think you can really say it's all of it, but I will say every 5 to 7 years when we get new hearing aids, our brain is rewiring because the algorithm changes slightly. So for the last 6 weeks after we get a new set of hearing aids, we're exhausted. Because for us, listening is an active process.
Right.
And so we're exhausted. And then with a new set of aids and the new technology, we're listening and our brain is like rewiring itself in order to hear in a new manner. So it's tiring, but I think that would have happened if I went to Phoniac. I would have had that process. It might have lasted longer, depending on how different the two algorithms are. But I think some of it is preference because I think that it didn't sound bad when I tried the other brand.
Yeah.
It just sounded different. And I'm like, yeah, I'm okay.
When I tried the Oticon, I remember I just felt like the world doesn't sound right.
Yeah.
And it didn't have the power threshold that I needed. So found Phonak and stuck with it.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like, if I replace my head array or these buttons get out of place, like this is essentially my like legs now and how I get around.
Yeah.
So it is very jarring and it's very exhausting and it's an emotional
Sure.
experience for me.
Big time.
Like when I have someone messing around with my head array, I get this like intense feeling of like emotion that I just feel like I'm being very violated or something. and it's weird, and it is very exhausting, and it's like probably my biggest muscle right now is my neck muscle, because I'm using this for all kinds of stuff, and I'm sure there's all these tiny little muscles in there that, you know, some get used more than the other when it's in one position, and then used more than the other in another position. Like, God forbid, I don't know if you can see the post kind of sticking off the back of the head array pretty far. Like, I've spun and I've caught that on crap, and then it bends the head array, and then I'm like, I think I have it back where I had it, and I'm like, and then I'm like driving, then I go to like hours later, and my neck is killing me, and I'm like, okay, it wasn't in the same position.
Right.
But then I'm like, okay, am I just used to this? Like, am I like maybe have my head too far forward and maybe I should go back? Like, maybe it's better for my posture. I'm always like kind of like second guessing my position and stuff. But then sometimes I'm like the opposite of hyper aware, and I'm just cruising around. But it is a very active process. It's exhausting, you know. I mean, as far as active listening goes, I feel like the rest of the world could benefit from doing something like that, you know.
For sure.
100%.
What's been kind of like the age group you work with as far as the reading and comprehension and stuff, and the hearing?
So over my career, I've worked with kindergarten through 5th grade. So we're talking 5 years old to about 11. And every year, the first day of school, I do a little presentation with my students about who I am, my hearing loss, the best way to work with me. I show them, I don't pass it around. I walk around and I show them the hearing aids so they can get a closer look at it. And year to year, the kids have been great. They've actually probably been more accommodating than most adults that I've encountered in my time. What I love about the kids is they're not afraid to ask the curious questions about my hearing loss, and I so appreciate that. And I had a group last year where my 4th graders last year, they were brutal. They would remind each other, like, she can't hear you. Turn around. Make sure you're looking at her. They held nothing back. So kids are probably just the most accepting, accommodating little group that we have. They're amazing. So it's never been an issue at work. They're fantastic. They're better advocates than I could ever be for myself. They're awesome.
You know, I find the same thing. When kids come up to me, they're always curious about the chair. They ask me about it. And you know what? Honestly, like, I have no problem being asked questions about it. I mean, I think that kind of fostering that curiosity and being okay with answering those questions, like us being educators about, you know, our experiences, like that's hyper important. You know, there's people, you know, who are in their 30s, 40s plus, like, who are afraid. They're just afraid to ask that because they think they might offend you.
Yeah.
And then, or they're afraid they might sound maybe malicious or something. But I think as long as there is no malice and it's just curiosity and you just want to learn, like, nothing's really off limits as far as I'm concerned.
Nice. Nice.
I mean, with that in mind, what kind of experience have you guys had as far as someone in a chair or someone that's a quadriplegic or a spinal cord injury?
I've had very limited experience. My students, typically the population I work with, are more learning disabilities as opposed to more physical challenges. So I've had very limited experience with mobile users. What about you?
So I worked with, she's no longer with us, but the head of the Wilmington, which is where I work, Commission for the Disability. She was in a wheelchair, but she had upper body, so paraplegic.
It could be paraplegic, it could be quadriplegic.
Okay.
So it's all kind of like not a spectrum, but like you have your spinal cord, you've got your cervical section, your thoracic section, and then your lumbar section. So I'm cervical, obviously, because I know that part well. And that's higher up, like near your neck. So if you were to look at the back of my neck, you would see a long vertical scar. And so I'm fused at C4, C3, C4. It starts with C1 and goes down. So I'm pretty high level. So this is like as much as I've got. But then you could be like C6, C7, even C5 and be driving your chair with your joystick. But if you look at their hands and their hands are like really tightened up in like a fist and they don't have good finger movement or no finger movement, they're a quadriplegic.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So like for a paraplegic, it's generally much lower. So I think T level, thoracic level. And then you'll probably have pretty good control from like the ribs up, but you might not have any core control. But then you might, you know, some of those people do.
Yeah.
Like my, you know, before having my spinal cord injury, which was in 2017, so about 8 years ago, I just kind of thought, there's quadriplegics who just can't move anything and are in a bed all the time, and then there's paraplegics who are zooming around in their chairs, and everything else is just maybe some other degenerative, disease or something like that.
Yeah.
And then I learned that like every spinal cord injury is as different as people are from each other, which I imagine is the same thing with any kind of degenerative hearing loss.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, it's so much nuance to any kind of disability.
Oh yeah. That's why when people talk about cures and stuff like that, it's not really a thing. Like you can think about cures just as like to keep like hope afloat, but there are interventions that can help. You're never going to be that same person you were. I mean, you guys were kind of born with it essentially, so there's not necessarily, I mean, it is progressive, but it's not like a before time where you're like, oh wow, night and day. Whereas like for me, I have a very like night and day, like I had to grieve essentially my death.
Absolutely.
And then like kind of rebirth myself as this quadriplegic JD. And
Sure.
I think a lot of people don't understand how like individualized those can be, and how there is a massive difference between like having it your whole life versus like experiencing it in like a split second. And like someone who is in a chair their whole life, that's all they know. It's not like you're offending them by saying I'm going to go for a run or something. Like whereas someone who had the injury later on might get that twinge of, I used to run. Sure. Not that someone who's been in a chair their whole life isn't going to have that urge to want to do something. It's just like you don't have that feeling necessarily to reference back to.
Right.
So I always find it interesting to talk to people who are on both sides of that, kind of like, was it a split second thing? Was it a slow degenerative thing? Was it something you were born with? It's varies so much. And then the disability beyond that also varies. So it's wild. I mean, could we talk maybe a little bit about your school experiences growing up maybe?
Do you want to start?
Sure, I'll start. Yeah, so I had a lot of trouble because I didn't have hearing aids. And so like I tried to sit up front as much as I could, but a lot of times in the lower levels you're alphabetized and the M is usually in the back, which is challenging.
Right.
I always had problems with people behind me. People did not understand that I couldn't hear them to give them the answer to number 23 or something. It was really hard. So I have a master's in library information science, and that schooling was the first time I had hearing aids. And so I thought it was a world of difference, but they just amplify, they don't clarify.
Right.
And so I still had problems with people behind me. I could hear they said something, but I couldn't hear what it was. And the active listening part, that doesn't change. So the school environment is very challenging because you're having to like really actively listen all the time. And so for having the experience with hearing aids and without, it's still the same because the hearing loss is still there. So the challenges are there. I don't know. It's fascinating to think about, like, would I be such a big reader if I was? Because like reading is how I got through school because I couldn't hear the teacher all the time. So it's fascinating to think about that kind of thing. It's like if I had the hearing aids like when Julie got them, when I needed them at 5, how would my life be different? But you can't really dwell on that. So I think school is hard. School is it's a very challenging setting, even with the hearing aids, but definitely much more. So you had them throughout, right?
Yeah, my experience is very different. I was the first mainstream, they called it mainstream then, special education student in the public school district where I went as a child. And that was interesting from my parents' perspective because no one really knew what to do with me. Fortunately, my parents instilled a very strong sense of self-advocacy in me from a very, very, very young age. I distinctly remember coming home the first day of first grade and saying to my dad, I couldn't hear my teacher. And he said, well, what are you going to do about it tomorrow? You have to try it first. And I go in this McDonald's and tell her I needed to have my seat moved. I needed to be closer to the front. So I was very lucky that I had that personality from being very young, that I was upfront with every teacher, every student, anybody that got my path of what I needed and what you can do to help me. But like Brad was saying, the active listening is so draining from kid to adult, right? And what I remember most about school is all these little strategies and tricks that I would have to do to keep up with everybody else. And one of them I remember when we would have to go around and read out loud. I would listen and I sit and I try and figure out when my turn would be, and I count the paragraphs in the social studies book, and I'd be straining to hear what the last word was and hoping I wasn't called on next. I mean, all of that little things that I had to do that at the time I thought everybody did.
Yeah, that's a puzzle.
Right? So it was just this constant jockeying of how am I going to navigate this hearing world that's not designed for me in this mainstream setting. And at the time, we didn't have FM systems yet. There weren't captioning systems. There was nothing. It was me and my hearing aids against the wall in elementary school.
What's an FM system?
An FM system is an assistive listening system that amplifies someone's voice. So it was very rudimentary technology back in the 80s and 90s when it finally came out, where the speaker would have a microphone and like this giant box, and I would have the giant box with a neck loop, and I would be able to hear the person louder from when they were speaking. Now with Bluetooth technology, it's greater. Now I have an accommodation at work. I use a Roger mic pen, which is a tiny little thing about this big,
Okay.
that has different settings. I can put it on the center of the table, and it has multiple microphones, and it streams right to my hearing aid.
Oh, wow.
So as people are talking, I can hear it very clearly. But back then, it was like these rudimentary amplification systems, and I always felt weird about it because you had this big great box next to you, and nothing else did, and it was just awkward. That started like middle school, high school. And then when I went to college, I essentially ignored all of it because I didn't want to be, different in college. But what I did use, they had people that would be note takers for people with hearing loss, which was great for the 8 a.m. biology watch. Never saw me. You saw me around 8:45. Get the notes. See ya. Out they go. So sorry, Mom and Dad. They know that part.
They knew. They knew.
Yeah, we're smarter, not harder, bro.
Absolutely. So the accommodations are much more so now, which is great than what they were available when we were
I
kids.
can't imagine.
Yeah.
No, I can't imagine the 80s. You remember seeing those in the 80s, like the big batteries.
Big things. Oh, it was so big.
How did the other kids kind of handle it?
Kids were not kind.
No.
I wouldn't say that we have the curious, kind children then that we seem to have now. I think tolerance is much more accepted. People are much more open and talking about the differences, and it's just a different kind of feel that I've seen in my 30 years of teaching. It's much different than how we grew up. I don't know if you would agree.
I think so. I think more curious
People are kinder and curious now.
It's more, we're exposed to many different ways of living now, right? So I think that before, when it was just Julie with her weird box,
Right.
that was the only thing that they saw that was different from them. But now you see people in wheelchairs, you see blind people, see people of different colors, everything. So it's a much more global community, and I think that is helping make people more tolerant.
Absolutely. Did either of you have any teachers that were particularly great that worked hard to kind of meet you and make it work for you, or was it,
I did. One of the reasons I became a teacher was my kindergarten teacher. This fantastic lady. She was so cool. And she really helped me step into my own power, even at 5 years old. She helped a lot with the self-advocacy and helping me teach other people about my hearing loss and kind of how to navigate things socially. She was tremendous.
Hell yeah. I mean, self-advocacy is beyond important. I mean, it's the difference between, for someone like me, being stuck in a bed all day with no one taking care of you to being able to do a show like this. I'm not doing this myself. I'm doing this because my wife is amazing. I'm doing this because my family's amazing, because my caregivers are amazing, and I have awesome people that I meet like Greg who can help me, create a show like this when I, can't get up behind the camera necessarily myself. I mean, once we're done with this, I'll take it back and edit it myself using the tech I was telling you about. So it's not going to be really quick, but But, it is crazy important to kind of speak up for yourself and know your needs, know yourself, learn yourself. It's like the worst thing I can see is when someone it's more when it's like a sudden change, is like complete denial of it and not wanting that. Because you're only doing a disservice to yourself, really.
It's hard. It's like I said earlier, it took me 40 years to speak up for myself. It's hard.
What do you think was kind of like the prevailing preventer for you?
I'm shy. I don't like I'm an introvert, so I don't like any kind of confrontation. I don't like asking for help. So all those things, right? Like putting myself out there, asking people to speak up or repeat themselves. So it's just, just being, I guess, more confident. And It took me a long time to get to that point.
Right.
And so now I won't shut up about it.
Yeah. I'm curious if either of you ever played sports and what the experience would have been like as far as like team sports.
I did. I ran track in high school and through the shot put, and it's just really loud in that indoor track dome. It really gets loud in there. It was hard to
Too bad echoey.
Yeah, for sure. So that was my extent of official sports in high school. But I was a musician, so I was involved with orchestra and band and marching band and things like that. And where it would get tricky would be all of the outdoor events if it started to rain. So we couldn't have a hood with a band uniform.
Right.
And these very sensitive to rain. So that was always a little bit of a trick of having, a plastic bag in my pocket or something that I could slip them out and put them in, or things like that. So that's where it got a little sticky for me as the weather changes. Same thing with outdoor track. If it was raining, just have to have a backup plan. But other than that, I think it was just one of those things. I don't know what the world is like without my hearing aid, and I don't know how to navigate the world any differently. So I'm not sure if I could even speak to if it was a challenge or not, because I'd never done it with hearing versus without. What about you?
I was too shy. I was a shy bookworm as a kid, so sports were not anything I was interested in.
Did you ever read comic books?
Oh yeah, that's how I started.
Me too. I write comics actually.
Yeah. Oh, do you?
So I'll give you my card. I've got free ones for you to check it out.
That's awesome.
That's cool.
It's more, I really only started like last year here. I'm going to have a little spasm. I'll just show you kind of what that looks like. I felt it coming on, so I was just going to do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just an involuntary muscle spasm because my body's like, you've been sitting still too long. I'm like, all right. But yeah, it was interesting actually early on in my injury when I would have spasms like that and people would be like, oh my God, you're moving your foot. Oh my God, you're moving your hands. I'm like, no, well, not voluntarily. And that's the weird thing is it kind of makes me think of how you were talking about how you're not sure if it's like the context, if it's the lip reading, if it's the hearing that's allowing you to kind of understand what someone's saying. Like I can trigger a spasm like in a specific part of my body.
Interesting.
So I know there's some kind of signal connection there, but I can't like do anything like fine or something like that. Like I can be like, okay, I know how to trigger that spasm and stuff like that, but I don't know how to do it necessarily. Like I know how to do it in a useful way as far as like, if I'm feeling low blood pressure, I'll set off a spasm because that'll get blood circulating through my body a little more, because otherwise it can, pool in my feet, especially if I'm standing. And then I'm like, it's actually interesting when I start tanking, like my blood pressure starts going down, what I lose first is my hearing.
Oh.
And it goes away completely.
Interesting.
And then black bars will kind of come in from the top and bottom. But before that, everything that's like bright will get really bright too. But it like takes a second for my hearing to come back. It's very strange. And then it's very muffled, kind of how they show it in the movies when like someone's coming back, it's like very muffled, and then it comes clearer and clearer, and I'm like, whoa. And I'm hearing all the ambient sounds, and I'm like, oh my God. I mean, I wonder if that's not too different from like getting a different hearing aid for the first time. You're like,
for sure.
Oh my God.
For sure. That shift from analog to digital was overwhelming.
Because how did the analog wasn't the box, or was that there was also smaller analog ones?
Yeah, that was what was available at the time. And I believe the analog technology was amplifying everything to the same level, and it didn't have that nuances that we have now with the digital technology. And I missed a lot of ambient sounds. I just didn't know they existed.
So it was literally just an amp. Yeah. Like that happened to fit for you. Okay. Yeah, man, that's barbaric, I guess. Compared to what we have now, at least.
Yep, big time.
That's crazy. I mean, okay, we were talking about kind of sports. Oh yeah, so you were talking about the rain. Like I know sound is obviously a part of that, but are they waterproof? Was that also a problem? Like you can't.
Yeah, no, they can't get wet.
That's crazy.
It is a stress and a half for both of us.
I don't have any outerwear that does not have a hood.
Nope.
Just in case. That's why I don't like the summer, is because it's too hot to wear like a hoodie or something.
Right.
Yeah. So I have to be so careful with like summer sun showers. So you gotta take them out quick and
hide them.
Yeah. Hide them, yeah. That's wild. I mean, you'd think like something that's going to be on the human body has to be resistant to liquid in some way,
They're better than they would be because, like, the first set, you probably remember this too. The first set I had like a wheel for volume. And had
that's right, the click wheel, yeah.
But they got rid of those because there's little microscopic holes so the things can move. Anytime you have a hole, water can get inside. So they are water resistant to a point because there's not many openings.
Right.
But yeah,
Not enough.
don't test that.
Experiment, try that.
I mean, that seems crazy because, like, they're always advertising, the new iPhone, it's waterproof and stuff like that. Why the hell aren't the hearing aids waterproof? Like, come on.
Yeah, I know they're working on it. I think Starkey is one of the brands that says you can, like, swim quickly or something. It can be submerged without being damaged. But they said that the inside, the mechanical bits inside are coated with the same material they use for the space shuttle. And so, like, it's sealed.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's wild, but, like, they're so expensive, and, like, it's still, you can't go swimming with them. If you fall in, you might not lose your hearing, but that's about it, right? So it is wild to think about how far we've come, but how far we've
Sure. I mean, even little things like if you're at the beach, there's water in the air from the ocean,
yeah.
or sand, or if you're putting sunscreen on and you touch your ears, like, maybe you gotta be careful with lotions, and it's pervasive through every part of your life.
And there's snow because we're in New England.
And the snow, and then even just simple things like if I wash my hair
Oh, yeah.
and I don't dry it right away, I need to wait for a little bit until it's not as sopping wet, and then I can put my hearing aids back in.
Oh, wow.
So it's all these little things with water that shows up everywhere that we have to be careful with.
As far as, like, I'm kind of curious, like, what hearing aids cost, like, monetarily. I know what I spent on, like, the Jabra ones for my mom, but I'm kind of curious what your guys' experience have been.
My most recent pair, we got new ones at the same time. So a year and a half ago,
3
years ago,
Yeah.
was close to $7,000.
And that's with help from insurance or no help from insurance?
Insurance does not cover hearing aids.
Really?
They're cosmetic.
That's crazy.
There are some insurance plans, I believe the GIC covers up to $1,200, which is nothing because the rest is out-of-pocket cost.
Yeah.
And actually, right now, there is a bill being pushed through the Massachusetts legislature, hoping to get this approved. There's a lot of advocacy work going on from the deaf and hard of hearing community. There's a hearing on actually Wednesday, September 17th, where people will testify to force insurance companies to cover the cost of hearing aids. They're not cosmetic.
I feel like
Not a choice.
that would be incredibly eye-opening to most of the population because
Absolutely.
I
People
feel
don't
like
realize.
most people would think that would be covered by insurance. Like, I kind of, like, didn't think that much about it with my mom because, okay, it's not like something that was pervasive throughout her whole life.
Sure.
It's later on, like, maybe this is the situation right now, and then if it gets worse, then we enter a clinical setting and insurance gets involved. But if not, that's crazy. That is a massive oversight. That's letting so many people down.
And that's a one-time cost that you then have to repeat every 5 to 7 years.
Yep.
And along with that, there's another part that people may not realize is that we don't have the rechargeable hearing aids. We're still using batteries.
Oh.
Because of the type of loss we have, the charge wouldn't last long enough throughout the day for what we need. So batteries come at a cost. That's not covered. We have to have our tubes replaced every 3 months, these plastic tubes.
Oh, wow.
That's a cost, the hidden cost there.
What do they charge for the tubes?
So it depends on where you go.
Okay.
You charge a couple.
Yeah, so I go to Mass Eye Interference, and it's basically a $50 office visit. So every 6 months, $50.
We have dehumidifiers for hearing aids, so we put them in at night to get the moisture out to try and preserve them.
Right.
That's $70.
What about the batteries?
The batteries themselves, we researched this a couple of months ago. It runs anywhere from $15 up to about $17 to $19 for a 6-pack. And we change our hearing aids. Probably the longest I can go without changing them is 7 to 10 days.
It's so fast because your batteries are bigger, so different sizes. So I have to change my batteries every 4 or 5 days because the batteries are smaller, so they hold less of a charge. So, like, that's repeated.
So a pack of 6 is getting you 12 days. We're not really that hot at math, but anyway, a couple of, so you're buying batteries more frequently than you realize, and that adds up quick. There's a lot of little things that people don't think about that go into the cost of making hearing aids. And
God
none of it is
forbid-
covered. It's all out of pocket.
And God forbid you, like, go to travel and forget
Yeah.
some of that stuff. I'm sure you've experienced that.
I have batteries everywhere. I have batteries in, like, every floor of my house, every room in my car, in all my jackets, in our office.
In this pocket. I mean,
You have to.
Batteries
You have to. Yeah, they have to be everywhere.
Yep.
Because if we lose it, we're up that creek.
Have you ever, either of you ever been in a situation where you've kind of been like screwed because you didn't have, You want to
It
talk
actually
about
just
it?
happened about a month ago. I was up in Maine, and one of my hearing aid tubes cracked, and it was a Saturday night, and the audiology wouldn't open until Monday morning.
Oh, wow.
So I was on half power Saturday night, Sunday into Sunday night with social plans and visitors, and it was just so frustrating. Nothing I could do because I can't just go to CVS and buy a new tube and pop it in.
Right.
It has to be a repair done at the audiologist's office. So there's that inconvenience factor, right? Just
If like, it's like the end of the world and you've got your supplies, do you feel like you could put a new tube on? Do you feel like you could kind of like...
Yes, but it is very delicate.
Yeah.
Certain tools to be able to pull it through, and it's a lot of fine motor skills that I don't necessarily have. And if you pop it or if you crack it, or the other thing I thought about swapping this tube over. If you crack it, you're out of luck. Or if it gets jammed inside the mold, then what are you going to do?
Yeah.
So it was easier to just resist temptation, don't touch it, and just be on half power for a day and a half. What about you? Have you ever had that?
Yeah.
Been somewhere you've gotten in a... You're usually more prepared than I am for everything.
So I've had issues where I've had to go through more than one battery. So like not all batteries work. So like they only last so long. And so sometimes I've had a pack in my coat or something for 2 seasons and I haven't used them all. And so when I pop it in, I don't know if it's a dud or not. So I've had issues where I've had to go through multiple batteries. And the thing that's really frustrating is that we put the batteries in, and then it has to test all the frequencies. So we hear chimes, but between putting the battery in and the chimes starting, it's like 10 seconds.
It's a delay.
You're like, wait, is this a dud or not?
Right.
It's nerve-wracking.
It is.
You feel like you have to be in like a really quiet setting when you do the swap over just to make sure everything sounds okay?
No, I mean it's fine. Like when it like we want more noise, right? So like the more noisy, the more we can test.
Well,
it.
yeah, sure.
But we're definitely worried about they're smaller. So like we want to make sure that if we drop it, we can find it or pick it up or something. So we do have to
Don't
be
drop
careful.
it over like a puddle if you're outside or something and you're trying to change it quick.
How
Oh, yeah.
durable are they, and what are they made of?
Hearing aids?
Yeah.
I don't know. What are they made of?
It's just plastic.
Just plastic?
It's a hard plastic. They're not very durable. So like if we drop them on a hard surface, you can crack it fairly easily.
Wow.
So you do have to be very careful with them. So have you
I wonder
dropped
what the
them?
reason
Oh, I've
is.
dropped them.
Yeah. And you right away, you drop it, you put it in, you're like, oh man, this doesn't sound right.
I've been lucky so far that I haven't had an instance where it's been crackly, but when you drop it, that feeling of panic, it's like my soul just leaves my body when I see it. It's like slow motion. I'm like,
Oh my God.
Yep.
I mean, traveling for me is like very stressful because, getting the chair onto the airplane and it's a whole process. They got to put you in like an aisle chair. I'm 6'4", so the aisle chairs don't really fit me. I'm like an octopus in a teacup, like going down the aisle, and they got to lift you over. It's a whole thing. First to get on, last to get off. So the flight's like hour or 2 hours longer just because the amount of time you're sitting in there and like wondering that whole thing. It's like such a stressful experience. I can imagine there's some degree of that with you as far as like, oh, I'm moving away from my home base where all my stuff is. Like, do I have everything? What did I forget? Like, does being on an airplane like hurt? Is it more painful because of I don't know, because it's not like your ear construction is different necessarily, right?
right.
Sometimes when they pressurize the cabin, that can be uncomfortable when your ears pop because they won't pop because there's no airflow when we have our moldings in.
Oh yeah.
And so there's that. The stress comes in mishearing something and in the intercoms and at the gate especially. Like you can't. They're so bad.
Oh yeah.
Like you can't. I can't. So like it's always like I always have that battle. Do I talk to the gate agent and self-identify and say, hey, look, I might not be able to hear when my group is boarding, or like when you're on the airplane, do you want to talk to the airline attendant? Like, okay, I have hard of hearing, so if there's an emergency, stress makes hearing worse. So, so like if there's an emergency, I need to make sure that the person who's giving directions knows that I might need a little bit more. And I don't always do it because it's uncomfortable to do. So not so much the physical aspect, but like the mental aspect of being on the plane. It's stressful.
I'm the complete opposite.
Yeah.
I march right up to that desk and I say, listen, here's how this is going to go. Here's what I am. Here's what I need. Here's how we're going to do this. I just lay it right out because why put myself through that mental anguish?
Yeah, that's
For 5
like
minutes of
self-advocacy training from a young age.
And I always say, don't put me in the exit row. I'm not you want the exit row because I'm not going to be able to follow the directions. And they laugh and you lighten it up and we all move on. I don't really travel by myself for safety reasons, just to make sure that I have that backup, even though I am such a strong self-advocate. I always feel a little more comfortable having at least one person with typical hearing with me
Yeah.
when I can.
Because why the hell not? Why not? Why not take
Definitely.
that little ease of stress?
Yeah,
in it?
absolutely.
How are you guys, like, how's your experience with like digital sounds? Like hearing from a digital, like a speaker, like an intercom. I know those are notoriously crappy, but like, or you're watching TV at home, like how does that kind of affect your hearing aids? Like different digital sounds, like, oh, like really nice surround sound system is much nicer and easier to hear than like a crappy intercom. I don't know if you can talk about any of that.
Obviously, we don't watch TV without the captions.
Yeah.
We need the captions. Depends on the quality of the technology. Like you're saying, like the intercom to like an apartment building, you're not going to hear anything.
Right.
But the technology has gotten really good. I've often wondered how a surround sound system would work for me. I don't have one, so and I don't know if I've never been in a place that has them. So
Well, movie theaters, right? Would that
I
be
guess movie theaters.
yeah. They don't help me at all.
No, not at all.
It's too loud.
Oh,
I'm too destroyed.
That's another thing, right?
So I need the captions.
Yeah, if it's
really
too
not doing
loud,
much for me.
it's too
Right.
loud for us.
Right.
Yeah, what's it like going to a movie theater? Are
That's
you guys able to enjoy it? Do you
I'm
have
not
to
a
have,
huge fan.
yeah.
It's a lot. It's really loud and I don't have the control over the volume. And now that there are assistive captioning devices, they don't always work either, but it helps a little bit. So we can goes in the cup holder. It's got like a, what do you call it?
It's an arm. It's
Like
a
a
flexible arm.
gooseneck arm thing. And you can flip it up. So it's a little screen here and the movie's here. So you can have the captions to back up what's happening. But even that is not that comfortable. So for me, I'd much rather watch something at home with my captions and relax. So I find it too loud and stressful.
I feel like that's going to mess with your eyes looking at two different depths.
Yep.
Like,
Oh,
some
sure.
really close
Absolutely.
and some really far. Like that would mess me up. I mean, I totally get the stress too, like causing the making it harder to hear because the more stressed out I get, the more stiff and
Oh,
spastic
sure.
I get too. It is like, it's such a self-fulfilling prophecy
Yeah.
in a way with some of those things.
A frustration that I have, yours don't have this, luckily.
Oh yeah.
And you're going to help me with technology because I mess it up every time. But there's something in my hearing aid, so he's going to tell you what it is because I don't remember. But if I'm in a really loud environment, like at a football game stadium or at a concert, my hearing aids shut themselves down and I can't control that volume to turn it back up again.
Oh.
It's compressor
it's
technology. What is it
Most of
called?
what you're talking about is the directional mic. So we have more than one microphone in each aid. So there's at least 4. So 2 pointing back, 2 pointing forward. And there's AI in all hearing aids now. And what it's trying to do is it's trying to shut down the level of the hearing behind you if you're talking to someone. So the front-facing mics have more of an input than the back-facing mics. But so like that's usually what's happening. So it compresses, so that's a form of compression,
squishes
right?
it.
And so that's what it's doing. It's constantly monitoring the environment. And if you're in a loud, like background noise is really hard for us because without our hearing aids, we don't hear it. So our brain isn't used to filtering out background noise. And so that's kind of what the hearing aids are trying to do.
And it's so frustrating when you're at a concert because you want to hear the music. But because of all the cheering and the crowd noise, the hearing aids make the decision for me to cut the volume in half. So that's not super enjoyable, which ties back to your question about surround sound and hearing digitally in a different way. That's really hard.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, did you notice kind of the AI getting better as far as like knowing where to focus the sound over time, or like with the new generations of hearing aids?
I haven't noticed anything in particular, but my loss is quite severe. So I can't really compare sound to sound. What about you?
So I had a set of hearing aids in 2016 that would do more than turn down the volume. It would shut off the back hearing aids. And so I would be walking, talking to somebody, and the wind would blow, and it would shut off the back microphones. And so like having your hearing cut in half is
that's
very disorienting.
frustrating.
So luckily the company did away with that. But that's the only experience I had with like AI AI not trying to make decisions for you that were the best.
Right. And we can't override that.
Right.
Oh, you can't.
No, it's all in the chip, so it's all baked into the algorithm again.
You think there's going to be a time when you're talking to like an AI in your ear, telling them, "Hey, you know what? You turn that down a little too much," or something like that.
So there's an app. So every hearing aid manufacturer has an app, and a lot of the new apps have certain settings where you can manually adjust it. If you're in like a concert or something, you can turn a preset setting on that adjusts the microphones and the volume for different microphones. So maybe. And like it's all about talking to the AI now, so I wouldn't be surprised. So like, hey, hearing aids, do this.
It would be interesting actually having like a large language learning model or a large language model on your phone, and like being able to kind of speak to that colloquially and be like, oh, like I'm at this show, like I feel like you're kind of messing with the hearing in this way. Can you maybe make that better? Like for people who aren't necessarily tech savvy or something like that, like as a digital assistant. That could be cool.
Yeah.
So you guys have a little kind of show and podcast together. I kind of want to talk about that a little bit before we wrap up.
Absolutely. You want to start?
Yes.
That one lets us start. I'm going to talk with the group, so I'm going to give him a chance.
So, as probably came very clear, that we have different ways of being hard of hearing, and so we've only known each other for 18 months.
Yeah.
And so
That's it.
we wanted to start the conversation and kind of show people that different topics that you wouldn't think of, like active listening was a really good one, because like it's really hard for us to listen. And so the show is basically us picking a topic, any topic, because our hearing is involved in every part of our life. And just kind of like relating to it, getting people, kind of what we're doing here, right? Is get people to talk about the disability and not be afraid to ask the questions and to give two different points of view, because we very rarely have the same experience or agree. But it's just about talking about that and demystifying it, kind of get rid of the stigmatization. And so it's been a blast.
Really,
it's been fun.
How it started was we were at a barbecue, and it was later at night, and people had moved inside, and we happened to be sitting next to each other, and at the same time, there's like a million conversations going on at the same time, and we just both looked at each other like this, like, oh, you can't hear that either? No. We literally talked before that, and that's how it started. And it was just this instant connection of, ooh, we should collaborate on something.
Oh, hell yeah.
So we've grown to have a weekly YouTube series called Hearing Things with Julie and Brad, which covers what Brad talked about. We also put out a co-written blog post each week through our website that, again, addresses a topic central to our lives as hearing aid wearers. It's not always the same topic as the show that we've done, because there's so much to talk about. We have an Instagram presence now where we do short videos on similar topics, but much like a little snippet, and then you can go and watch some of the longer form videos. And what else are we doing? And we're going to shift our videos. We're going to keep making the videos. We're going to shift it to recording them as podcasts also, so we can kind of get out in that mode for people that want to listen to us driving to work. Not everyone has the time to sit and sit in front of a video and watch that, so we're transitioning to that. And our website, we formed our company in May. We're very excited. So you can find all of our content at dttproductions.com, short for Down the Tubes Productions, named after our hearing tubes. And that's where you can see all of our Instagram videos, blog posts, weekly series videos. It's been a lot of fun.
Awesome. How many episodes kind of have you done?
What are we up to now?
We've recorded 68, 69. I think we've released, I think we're at like 64, 65. Yep. So like we want to keep that weekly schedule consistent. And so we record a bunch at a time. And they're usually like 15 minutes or so. Sometimes we'll interview different people.
They'll run a little bit longer.
And there's usually like a half an hour or so. But so we've been like a year and a half now. It's been fun. It's been a lot of fun. And
we're having a blast.
We're having an impact too. We get plenty of comments like people, I didn't know that was a challenge for you, right? I'm sure you have similar experiences with this show. It's like,
actually my last episode was my first time interviewing a guy who also had a spinal cord injury.
Oh, wow.
So it was really interesting to talk.
Right?
Like I'm sure you guys had, talking about the crazy differences in our injury, even though if you saw us in a room together, you would assume like we're pretty similar. I mean, he's driving with a joystick, but he's only like one level lower than me, and how different that can be. I mean, Well, another crazy thing is, I'm C3, like I said. I know a guy who's C3 who doesn't use any assistive technology and is walking around because, there's a lot of different reasons this could be happening. But one of the things we think is he was being prescribed ketamine for depression before he was hit by, I think he was working construction and was hit by a car. And that is a very aggressive neuroregeneration drug. So they think it might have, in that acute phase, really helped those nerves regenerate before all the scar tissue had formed. Because the scar tissue is what prevents a lot of the axons from regenerating, which prevents us from healing ourselves internally. And so, it's weird. So let me clarify. He doesn't walk around with anything, but you could tell. He looks drunk, essentially, when he walks around. And the crazy thing is he has the same sensation as me. So my sensation stops, probably, a little below the collarbones, somewhere in between collarbones and nipples, and goes straight across. And he's the same way. So try to imagine walking around and grabbing stuff and not really being able to feel that.
No, that's wild.
It is wild. But I imagine there's aspects of that would resonate as far as your hearing and balance and being able, like you were talking about. It is crazy how different, but there can be similarities between them too.
For sure. And what we really appreciate having each other is having someone that can empathize. We have wonderful friends and family, of an incredible support network that can sympathize with us.
Right.
But to have someone that can empathize, it makes such a huge difference.
There's no substitute for it.
There's no substitute.
Oh, no, not at all. There is something, I don't even know how to describe it. It's like a feeling inside when you walk into one of those conversations with someone that's in a similar thing, and you're like, it's like your souls are talking to each other in a way,
I describe it as finally being able to exhale.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting
The
it.
best way to put it.
Because it does feel like something's being kind of lifted off you.
Yeah.
You're letting that air out, like something that you've been holding on to,
Even just something silly. We were driving the other day, and my right hearing aid was doing something. I got one hand on the steering wheel, and I just whipped it out of my ear. I'm like, would you fix this, please? And then you exactly flip open the battery cage, fix it, give it back to me. Just having someone that gets it without having to describe it or go through it,
See, but would that work in
valuable.
reverse?
What's that?
Would that work in reverse if he was having the issue?
Oh, yeah, sure.
All right, yeah.
We beat you at the hard time, but when it comes to hearing related things.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought you were the tech expert.
No.
Basic things I could fix. I could change your battery to fix that.
Hell yeah.
Yep.
I guess that comes from the self-advocacy. You learn what you need. You learn to be able to take care of yourself as much as you can because that's important.
For sure.
Well, it's been really awesome having you guys on here.
Thank you.
I kind of wanted to know if there's anything that I misspoke about or that that you wanted to express that I didn't ask about, or if there's maybe a message you wanted to leave people with as far as hearing impairment goes. I know I'm kind of putting you on the spot with that one.
I know. I don't think you missed anything.
If anything, I was going to say you asked some really pointed, thoughtful questions that I hadn't thought about as someone with hearing loss. It was really interesting. Some of the things you brought up was actually very much appreciated on our end.
Thank you.
So it was really well thought out and different from things that we talk about.
Yeah, it's interesting when you come across someone else has to overcome something. There's differences, but there's a lot of parallel similarities that we can find, and it also unlocks, I think, new perspectives as far as the way you look at things. It's like, oh, just because of my spasm being involuntary and amping up with my stress, there's similar things with your hearing, and it's that's something I never ever would have thought of.
Yeah.
But it's been amazing having you on here as guests. I loved this conversation we had.
Thank you.
It was fun.
We loved it. Thank you
Thank you
very
so
much for
much.
having us. Really appreciate it. It's been a lot of fun for me to be on the other side of the interview for a change.
Oh, yeah.
Because usually I'm the one running the show and asking questions of other people. It's kind of a nice treat to sit back and be showcased for a little bit for a change,
Hell yeah.
For doing that. It was great.
Well, thank you everyone for joining us today on the show. Come back, see another episode of Seen and Heard when we're back. We'll see you on the next one.